Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we are starting the Learn Harmony. This is the Harmony 1 music theory series. I believe I'm just going to call it Harmony 1. And the purpose of this series is to teach you from a academic perspective. So all my other series have sort of been for those that are looking to write music and sort of aren't looking into getting into the details. But if you really want to be great, you kind of have to delve into the details. I'm a tutor for Harmony, and I've seen a huge number of the same mistakes. And so this series is going to be to overcome those. I seek to add information to topics that are often breezed over in a single paragraph in the book, and your instructor covers in a couple minutes, sometimes assuming you know the material to a degree because maybe they expect you to have played an instrument or something. And so as a tutor, I get the same questions an awful lot. So I'm going to try and really make those thorough and give you enough work. So there will be work. I have a whole workbook. And if you really want to understand this, you will watch the video at your speed and you will do the workbook. So I have this workbook. I've really striven to make exercises that will be beneficial and useful to you. A lot of this stuff in music theory, you kind of have to just know the first material before you can move on. And so I'm actually learning programming right now, and I have all these ideas about programs that can just help you learn music theory faster. For example, just a random interval generator so that you can just learn your intervals really good, because that's like half the battle. Stuff like that, simple stuff. And I know that some of this stuff probably already exists, but as a programmer, I'd like to give my own go at it and develop things from there. So I think we could make some really cool, unique resources you might not find other places. That stuff's off a little bit in the future, but the workbook mostly exists. So I made this workbook, and this is an example. So it has some instructions. You can, of course, ask in the comments if you're confused about the instructions. And what it has here is there will be a blank version, and then there will be a version with answers, or at least demonstrations, because that's another thing I've seen with workbooks. Oftentimes what they're asking for can be kind of ambiguous and confusing, and so I will seek to remedy that by providing an answer sheet. A lot of them don't. I'm kind of surprised at just like how weird sometimes they ask you to do things that just don't make that much sense. So we're going to be doing that. So Harmony 1 covers, I do expect you to have some knowledge of music. I expect you to know how to read music. And when I say read music, I mean you can look at the staff and tell me what note that is, and you don't have to go, oh, this is an A, B, C. I don't want any of that. There's the Music Theory from the Ground Up series if you're at that level. But I expect you to have at least gone through. If you haven't memorized it, memorize it, because you really can't afford to be sitting there reading music and doing this whole, face for, oh yeah, that's how you get that note. You should really just be able to look and know. So that's something that you should know how to do. Other than that, we're going to be starting from building scales and understanding how scales interact with other notes, and I'm going to be giving emphasis towards exercises that I think will create a personal relationship with the information, because that's the other battle. So one of the secrets to learning material is called elaborative encoding. It's when you take material and you make a whole bunch of connections to it to remember it. It's used in memory competitions. It's one of the main techniques used, is how do you make this information relevant to you? And so I'm going to be trying to incorporate this by using just weird examples, things that are sort of just like unforgettable in a way is what I'm sort of aiming for, but we'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's the goal. So by the end, at the end, you should be able to just go in and test out of Harmony 1. I tested out of Harmony 1 and 2 and into 3. I probably could push hard and get through 3 and go straight to 4, because after that you get into like some more cooler subjects. Like you can dive into counterpoint a lot more deeply. You can dive into orchestration a lot more deeply. Those are sort of the more interesting subjects, but we got to go through all this stuff and get ourselves familiar with the basics. So anyways, that's what you're in for. That's sort of my idea about how this thing's going to go down. If you're here at the beginning of the series, you'll probably see that there'll probably be a lot of updates to the workbook if you discover like typos or whatever, and I'll be uploading and updating the upload for the workbook repeatedly. So you may have to re-download a number of times if you're at the beginning. And then I do plan to go into Harmony 2 and eventually Harmony 3. And the idea is the workbook will implant the information in such a way that you will be able to use it creatively. It won't just be like I'm arbitrarily building chords for like no reason. Like there'll be some of that for the purpose of memorization, but then there'll be like clear instructions and uses. And as I see fit, I try to make it as intuitive and useful, personal as possible. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Support me on Patreon. It really helps material like this come out and come around. I've been spending more and more time on other endeavors, and so having an incentive to come and continue to work on this really helps keep me going. If you have any questions, again, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.